Trump was supposed to be here this morning. He backed out. He instead was in Kansas. I sense that the crowd has an opinion on that. Do you?
Yeah, I mean, this is the American Conservative Union, and so, I mean, it's usually reserved for conservatives. And no, but this matters. I mean, look, either the ideas behind conservatism matter or they do not. And if they do not, then it's fine, but I believe they do. It is not enough to say, vote for me because I'm angrier and over the top and I'm going to do and say things no one else is going to do. I get that anger and frustration, I really do. But let me tell you something. I've said this before. It is not a coincidence that there are people, a plethora of young conservative leaders in this country in their 40s and 50s. Myself, Ted Cruz, Rand Paul, Scott Walker, Susanna Martinez, Nikki Haley, Paul Ryan. Why? Why? Why are there so many young conservatives now serving our country? I'll tell you why. Because we grew up in the era of Reagan. And Ronald Reagan looked and acted nothing like Donald Trump. And
you're stepping up your rhetoric big time against Donald Trump on the question of whether or not he is a true conservative. You started doing that at CNN's debate last week. You're calling him a con artist and a fraud. If you believe those things, why did you wait until February of 2016 to say so?
Well, a couple reasons why. Number one is because for much of this campaign, I've been fighting off other people attacking me, and so that takes a little bit of time too. And the other is, look, I didn't get into this to beat up on the other candidates. I really didn't. I had hoped that voters, if you had told me a year ago that the front runner at this stage in the Republican campaign would be a supporter of Planned Parenthood, who says he doesn't stand with Israel, who says that, who has a long record of supporting government-sponsored health care, I would say, on what planet would that be the Republican front runner? But it's happened, and I think we have to ask ourselves, why have we allowed that to happen?
I want to put my mom hat on for a second, because you're the proud father of 4. I'm the mother of a 4-year-old son. And I'm having trouble letting him watch the news because things have gotten so vulgar and so over the top that I don't want him to think that it's okay to act like that.
Right.
How do you, and I'm not alone, I know a lot of people have said that, how do you feel as a father and a presidential candidate about how low things have gone?
Well, I mean, no, but I'll tell you, this is related to the real question. I'm glad you asked it. My kids were on with me on the campaign trail a lot, from New Hampshire, Iowa, New Hampshire, South Carolina. Every day when I woke up, I was glad they were there, not just because they were my kids, but because I looked at them and it reminded me, this is what it's about. And yes, I think it is one of the things you asked me. I don't want us to have a president that we constantly have to be explaining to our kids, look, I know that's what the president did, but you shouldn't do that. I don't want that. We actually had a president like that not long ago. It was really bad.
But just to follow up, but the rhetoric has been, I mean, I understand you're saying that you are trying to answer him and some of the things that he has been saying, but, you know, I can't explain to my kid about this, you're talking about hands and things like that.
Donald Trump, he might have grown up the way he did with a lot of money and going to boarding schools. I can tell you this, where I grew up, if someone keeps punching people in the face, eventually someone's going to have to stand up and punch them back.
From Twitter. This is on the Supreme Court from @SarahLeeAnn. Do you think President Obama should appoint a justice to SCOTUS, the Supreme Court, prior to the end of his term? Why or why not?
No, absolutely not. And the reason why is first of all, I agree with Joe Biden in 1992 when he said we should not be electing Supreme Court or nominating Supreme Court justices in an election year.
So do you think that all candidates now, Republican and Democrat, should pledge not to nominate a Supreme Court justice in their last year of their term?
Sure, I would do that now, and that's, by the way, has been the practice for over 80 years in this country. The only time they want to bend the rules or change the rules if there's a Democrat in office, so they're all ignoring what Joe Biden said in 1992, but it goes back to the point I made. This is a lifetime appointment. You cannot, unless this person that gets appointed murders someone, it's going to be very difficult to remove them from the court.
I have another question. It is about something Donald Trump said, but it's on an important issue, which is torture. You were standing next to him in the debate. You heard what he said on torture, and then he reversed himself, saying that he understands that the United States is bound by laws and treaties and will not order our military or other officials to violate those laws. What do you think of that, and what do you think is the most important position of a president on the issue of torture?
Well, I think the most important issue The most important issue, the most important job of president is to be commander-in-chief. A commander-in-chief will never ask the armed forces of the United States to do something that would violate the rules of war, or quite frankly, the internal practices of our military. But I want to be clear about interrogation, okay? We have to understand that this is not about torture. No one here is asking for torture. But you cannot use the same interrogation techniques on a terrorist that you do on a criminal. Here's why. A criminal, when you are interrogating a criminal, what you are trying to do is gather evidence for a trial so you can convict him. When you are interrogating a terrorist, what you are trying to gather is information to prevent a future terrorist attack. It's not about evidence for trial.
In a week and a half, as you well know, is the Florida primary, a crucial test for your campaign. Governor John Kasich said that if he doesn't win his home state of Ohio, he'll drop out. What will you do if you don't win?
Well, I've never
Florida?
based my campaign on one state, but I can tell you this. We will win the state of Florida. We will beat Donald Trump there the way we beat Charlie Crist. I have experience at beating people who say who they are, who don't say who they truly are. I have experience at beating people who portray themselves to be one thing but are actually something else, and you're going to find that out on March 15th in Florida.
One person who is not going to be on the ballot is Jeb Bush. I know that the two of you have spoken. Have you asked him for his endorsement?
Yeah, I don't discuss private conversations with anyone.
Would you like to have his endorsement?
I would like to have as many endorsements as I can get because I want to unify the party, but I'm not going to discuss private conversations. Suffice it to say that no matter what happens in a campaign, I said throughout the campaign repeatedly that I had tremendous admiration for Jeb Bush, that I believed he was the greatest governor in Florida history, although Rick Scott's a very good governor too, and that I will always have tremendous affection and respect for him, despite the fact that because of a weird quirk of fate, we ended up running for the same office at the same time. I did not run for president to stop Jeb Bush. I ran for president because I believe America's greatest days lie ahead if we do what needs to be done right now in 2016.
Just one final question. Just on a personal level, what has been the most surprising part of this campaign? I mean, it is grueling. Obviously, you're sitting here with the flu, right? So how have you embraced this in a way that maybe you didn't think you would?
Well, there's a lot of surprising parts about this campaign. I told you one of them. I never could have imagined that the front runner in a Republican nomination would be someone that refuses to stand with Israel, defends Planned Parenthood, you know, all these other positions that Donald Trump has taken. But that aside, here's the great part about it. I knew this already, but this campaign reminded me of this. America is not a government. America is a nation and people. America is the country where this very morning, people got up and went to work or opened their business or volunteered in the community. They're going out about their lives and doing great things, irrespective of who the president is going to be or not. Our government is messed up, but the American people are as great as they've ever been. What they need now are leaders that give them a chance. And this campaign has confirmed that.
Senator, thank you.